Hey everybody, welcome back to the Our Full Self Future podcast. This is episode 2. Today we have some very special guests that I'd like to introduce himself. Let's go, Josh, you first.
Yeah, Josh West of Josh West 24/7, based in Austin, Texas, and excited to join you guys.
Yeah. Landon?
Very good. I am Landon of the West. I am in the west side of Colorado, and I love driving FSD in the mountains.
And David?
David Moss here again. Glad to be back. Thanks for having me on yet again. And I'm from the Seattle area.
Yeah, for sure. All right, so we just wrapped up Chattanooga Charge. What do you guys think? What do you guys think? Hey, Josh, you want to start?
Yeah, it was great. We had a bunch of reveals. Some awesome custom Teslas. We had some phenomenal speakers. Really, we heard from just a huge cross section. Joe Tagmeyer kind of closed us out. He was sort of the headline name and just filled us in on Starship and some of the exciting things with SpaceX, as well as Cybercab, some of the inside track as to what's kind of fake versus what you should be believing and what the plans are for rolling that program out. Especially on the streets of Austin. And who else did we hear from? Well, we heard from Captain Ellie, who's a massive supporter of Elon Musk and involved. He's actually worked for 2 Elon companies, both Tesla for a time and now for XAI. And that was really interesting to hear some of the kind of inside sort of Cole's notes of how Elon runs his companies, what's it like to work for them, and the characteristics of his teams. Then we heard from Brian Futuraza, who just made a huge trip over to China and talking about everything they have going on there, and even the Elon effect overseas. So it's really interesting to hear from, and again, a whole bunch of other great speakers, but it was really a phenomenal event.
Yeah, Landon, what do you think?
He mentioned some of the characters, and Captain Ellie, what a guy to come into our Tesla world over there. He was the top salesman for Tesla in Israel last year.
Yeah.
And, I've worked in Legacy Auto. Josh worked in the Legacy Auto. And so we're impressed with that kind of thing, even if nobody else is.
Yeah,
anymore.
for sure.
Other than that, the characters were the people that I met out there. You mentioned some of the others, but we got a lot of our lovable characters that talk to us on Spaces and other places every day. And those are the things that really get me excited, is watching other people come into our universe and get to know them.
For sure. David?
I was going to say, yeah, it's all about the community. I mean, just getting together and seeing all the faces. It's not about the big faces, but it's the small. It's the Smokies, the bear of the worlds, and the people that you get to, there's so many anonymous people online, and just putting the face to the name. Exceptional time, and seeing all the custom cars. I think Josh should talk about his car more, but exciting times. Every kind of Tesla you can imagine, and every spec imaginable.
Yeah, for sure. One thing is like no other community in the world that I've ever been a part of could I hand the keys to my car to someone and anyone in the community and not have to worry about my car.
Yeah.
And I think that's one thing that we have very special in the Tesla community. That's something that we've built, and it's a wonderful space. So yeah, it's currently 11 o'clock at night after Chattanooga. I think we're all a little tired, but
a little sunburnt.
Yeah, definitely a little sunburnt. Yeah.
I got my second wind. I think, about 11 a.m. I was just done. We're supposed to speak to the group, and I'm my level's crashing, but so we've rebounded.
Well, I should mention as well, all 4 of us, really shared a panel today, so that was a lot of fun. So big thank you to you guys. You had a huge contribution, and I had actually several people that came up after me. Of course, I was emceeing the event, and really mentioned that they really took a lot away from our group. So kudos to you guys.
That was great.
It's great to get unique minds and different perspectives together.
For sure. Yeah. So as Elon just wrapped up the Terafab announcement, the Tesla, XAI, and SpaceX kind of not merger, but combination.
Really.
Co-venture into the Terafab project. Most of y'all have not watched it yet, and we just kind of briefly went over it. We're all pretty tired, but we kind of have some brief notes, and I think we want to go over kind of speculation of what you guys are thinking now, because everything's changing really quick, as you guys know. I mean, the future is now, and sci-fi is no longer sci-fi. It's sci now, I guess.
Reality.
Yeah. I think the first major thing that we should go over is the power that's more than one kind of chip. Elon was talking about, all of the kilowatts and terawatts that are of power they're going to be using. And the slide that I have here says AI5 powering FSD and Optimus, AI6 powering Optimus, D3 powering space and beyond. So what do you guys think? Do you guys think that they aren't revisions anymore? Like, AI4 is just a newer revision of AI3. Do you guys think that they're product names now? What do you guys think for the future of AI5, AI6, and D3?
That's interesting. To think of them as generations as they've been in the past, I'm going to stick with that until I get other information.
Okay.
Because I think that the vehicle portion, and I do come from auto. I like cars. I like products. It's great. I get a little uncomfortable when we're talking about sleds on the moon. Maybe a little out of my wheelhouse. Yeah, I think so. Yeah. But when we're talking about automotive, I think that we're going to have cars in the future for years. Maybe they'll all be robo-taxi type. Maybe they'll be the cyber cab. Maybe there'll still be some consumer vehicles for a while. So that means to me that Elon's words of we are going to iterate, trying to do it on an annual basis there. I think that means that we will have consumer cars in the future. I think we'll see AI7, 8, and more. Hopefully on these yearly time frames that he talked about.
Yeah.
What an aspirational goal that is.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, like an iPhone every year, they do that. So why can't we get that with FSD? I think that with Elon's abilities, I think
I could live in that world. Yeah, you bet.
I could see how it could be every 6 months. I mean,
wow,
really. So yeah, I think we should go into AI5. It says powering FSD and Optimus. They kind of left out the AI4. Do you think that we're sunsetting the future of AI4? Are we putting that in new vehicles past this? What AI4 running in Optimus, or what do you guys think?
I think, well, just my takeaway on it was it's very much future forward. They're really just sort of putting in stone stuff that has been rumors. That's, for any of us that's kind of in the industry or in the community, we kind of been hearing this, hearing that. We have gut feelings. We understand where they've been, the trajectory, how Tesla works. This to me really was sort of, bringing the tablets down from the mountain and showing the world exactly what the game plan is and really just putting it in stone and saying this is what the plan is and really taking all the guesswork out of it. We kind of had an idea, but this is, the clear game plan. And it's almost, very reminiscent to me of, the master plan, right? So we had Elon's master plan 1, master plan 2, master plan 3, and this is just a sort of a different kind of variation, but similar lines, going along that same principle.
Yeah, I think one thing that I want to get your guys' opinions on is, you guys saw the display today with in the back of my trunk with the AI3 and AI4, and I kind of spoke on the RAM per chip and how they've combined the memory on AI4 for the 8 gigs on each processor to be together to be 16 gigs to run these new models. With AI5, all of the leaks and then some of Elon's own personal things saying 9x the memory capacity. Do you guys think that means 9x the overall memory capacity or per SoC? So do we think that, from the rumors and the firmware, it does look to be that AI5 is going to be a 3-processor system with triple redundancy? Do we think that each individual processor has 144 gigabytes of memory, totaling like a little less than 500? Or do we think that the entire chip has 144 gigs?
Wow. I'm going to go with the latter, and I'm going to say that's all you're going to get out of me on that because we're out of my area. But I wanted to mention his.
But wouldn't you
props.
think cost would play a factor?
It would.
Which would be the more expensive route? They haven't always gone that way. They usually like to keep things cost efficient.
The only thing I know for sure is those chips that you had today were the hit. He brings props to the thing and outshines everybody else on the panel. He's got this golden thing, and everybody ate it up. Yeah. And that's a really good way to see how we're moving through the generations. So I'll let you guys speculate on the rest.
Yeah, sure, David. I mean, you and me talked a lot about that. What do you think? Are we looking at a 144 gig AI5, or are we looking at?
I think they're going to go big.
Go big or go home. Yeah,
The way I would,
the big thing that I'm seeing is Elon's talking about distributed compute and digital Optimus and running Grok locally and all of those things, right? And all of those things take massive amounts of memory. And I think the future, I think they've learned their lesson with not under-speccing, but making a little smaller chips. So yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, I was just going to say, my question would be, so where does energy usage, and we still are on battery powered vehicles, right?
Yeah.
We don't want to be, reducing performance of the vehicle. We've got thermal issues to consider. Where do you see that tying in as far as longevity, performance of the vehicle, you know what I mean, with energy usage, with putting in, a significantly higher powered system that, again, you're talking about the option of having it running in the background when the consumer's not using it. How do you see that playing into choosing which hardware? Should then not go with one that maybe is a little bit more efficient?
Yeah, so I think that the triple redundancy with the 3 SoCs is gonna be huge for cybercab, robotaxi, all the redundancy where human life is at stake, right? But whenever you're sitting in park plugged into a supercharger or your level 2 home charger, right? Your car's not going to be doing anything, right? It just sits there. It's losing you money in depreciation. And I think Tesla is going to be able to change that with this, because you can bypass the battery if it's plugged into level 2 or level 3. If you're charging the car, you can go straight into the FSD computer. If they combine those three SoCs together and all of the memory into one giant GPU in a sense that can be contributed into the Inference network, and then Grok, and also into digital Optimus, and being able to scale that between all of the vehicles, and maybe doing a 50-50 split or 70-30 split with the owner of the vehicle, and hey, you have power here. And one big issue with data centers now that we're all seeing is data center companies that are building these data centers cannot get enough power. It's the biggest problem, and it's better on our grids if our grids are spread out, right? The biggest issue right now is that data centers are all in one location,
Concentrated, yeah.
Right. If we can spread that across, thousands of homes, and every home is 500 watts, right? You can spread that load against the whole grid and be able to do that distributed inference. It'll be a lot cheaper for Tesla as well, because you have each individual user maybe even combining with their solar system to be able to do integrations with Powerwall, and be able to pay you for your extra energy that's in your Powerwall.
Right.
What do you think on that?
Well, so I'll give you an example. So I was just in Memphis. I went down to XAI. I saw the Colossus in person, and I mean, you're right. The grid draw is incredible. They basically have transformers that would power a city sitting outside of there. But one of the biggest things I noticed was cooling. I mean, you have gigantic, massive pipes running into this thing for cooling. They're building a water recycling and purification plant just down the street from Colossus to try and ease the water usage. So when I'm thinking about these vehicles, I happen to own several Teslas that are out of warranty. So if you're going to be using my vehicle as a remote data center and you're cranking heat and thermals, you're now those components are going to break down. Who's responsible for that? Because Tesla's getting the benefit, using my GPUs, CPUs, whatever that's inside the car, but that silicon's breaking down over time through use and cycles, especially putting a big draw on it, like we're talking about doing.
Yeah.
And so who's going to pay for that? As my car sits out in the hot Texas sun, plugged into a level 2 charger, I have no idea, but it's actually being used and heated up and so on and so forth. Yeah. How does that play into my ownership experience?
There's a lot of those problems that I think is up for debate, right? I think Tesla hasn't probably solved all of these problems internally yet. But again, they have some of the smartest engineers in the world, so I think they'll find something out. But one thing I do have to say is that whenever you run a chip, like for example in the data center, when you run a GPU at a solid 95% capacity and solid, it has way less effect on the actual silicon itself than you do turning on it, turning it off, turning it back on, turning it back off. Right? Like home computers are actually way worse to buy used than server components, which is an interesting thing. Everybody's like, oh, server components and Bitcoin miners are used 24/7, 365. They must be trash, but really the silicon thrives on being constantly used.
Okay, interesting.
And not having those thermal cycles that expand and contract the metal. And I think that's going to be a huge thing, is keeping that consistent. but I think it'll be less of the processing power done on the actual cars. I think it's more of just the ability to have the memory and the inference running, right, and having somewhere to store the memory in the short term. So it's a digital Optimus. Let's think of it as, a virtual machine or like a laptop, right? Your laptop sits at 10% idle most of the time, right? It barely does anything if you're not doing anything. So it's just web browsing, and all Grok's doing is going around and clicking around and solving problems. Let's say it uses 50% usage. How do we do that? One big problem is, if it's in a garage, right? It's plugged into level 2. Do you go out in your garage and now your garage is a sauna, right? So that's kind of where we are in calculating the amount of power draw in AI5. From what Elon said, it's between 500 and 1,000 watts. So we could have up to a kilowatt, which that means that level 1 charging is kind of removed from the even ideas, right? So
it wouldn't be any fair to David at all. He wouldn't make any money because he's using his FSD computer like 20 hours out of the day. It is, right?
Yeah. So I think that it would be interesting to see the calculations on your BTUs from 500 watts of an AI computer and how much that would heat up a garage. And
I would say thermal's the biggest enemy for sure.
Yeah, for sure. I think that'll be a good problem for Tesla to solve. And who knows, once we get to AI5, maybe there's they have an advanced cooling system that doesn't take up a lot of power.
Maybe not such a good move from Canada to Austin. You're gonna have to move back to Canada.
Extreme cold versus a lot of warmth. Yeah,
he'll just send all the power up there in the winter. And
that's right.
Yeah. When cybercabs aren't being used, they just ship them to Alaska.
Yeah, right.
Perfect.
They get the nice cool weather. Yeah. All right, so I'm seeing here is Elon just posted Optimus robots, 10 billion units a year, very, very soon. What do you guys think?
10 billion?
10 billion.
Two varies.
Okay.
They're skeptics, of course.
Is there any company producing anything that's 10 billion other than grains of rice annually?
McDonald's hamburgers.
10 billion a year?
Oh yeah,
maybe.
Yeah. Bic pens. I think that's a good 10 billion.
Yeah.
So complicated space servers are probably as easy as
yeah. We can do that. Yeah, it's pretty easy.
No, these are great. I love it. But I made fun. I latched onto the very, very.
Yeah.
Because you see, 14.3 is coming soon.
Yeah.
And then Optimus version 3 is coming very soon. But AI7 evidently is very, very soon.
Okay, so I think that's the two things we should talk about. I think one, we should do the railgun on the moon. The heck is that, right? David, do you want to talk on what you think about the railgun on the moon and how
I don't know anything about that.
You go from coast to coast and now you're being asked, what do you think about railguns on the moon? What do you think?
I think that's a reality I'm not prepared for.
This is what we're asked of in the Tesla community, right?
Yeah.
We got to be experts on everything, and it updates every 2 weeks.
Yeah.
Railguns on the moon. We got to get those satellites out there into deep space. We need to get them to where they're in a heliocentric orbit, to where they're always in the sun. That's going to satisfy the power concerns. Mm-hmm. And once we start using more and more of the sun's power, instead of doing it in the Earth's gravity well or sending it out. So that's the idea. There's some things on the moon we can use to get there. There's the low gravity.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So one thing I'm curious about, once we have, heliocentric SpaceX D3 AI compute units, right? How do those communicate and send high bandwidth back to Earth, right? Because that's a major problem now is, we're trying to say once Starship is released, we're going to have, 1 gig Starlink. But what does that look like? Because, just sending any information to Mars, if I could be corrected with this, it's like 8 to 30 minutes, depending on where you are, right? How do we get that really high bandwidth through the vacuum of space and just the incredible distances of space?
So you're saying you don't know? You don't know?
No,
I don't know either.
Yeah.
None of us know. And so the question is a tough one.
Yeah.
And we don't work for SpaceX.
Right.
And so luckily they've got engineers, and I love the way they hire. these kind of events are often framed in our conversations as hiring events.
Recruiting. Yeah.
Because who wouldn't want to go work for the company
For sure.
that's got lasers in space? I mean, come on. You're going to go work for HP? You're going to work for Dell? I don't think so.
Yeah. You go build printers for HP, or do you go work in a company launching massive space lasers that communicate with each other and have rail guns on the moon?
Unreal.
That's all I have to say. Yeah. What do you guys think the D stands for in D3?
Oh, I've got a historical reference. I like to base my answers on just going back to what Elon says, right? And in 2015, if I recollect, he says cryptically, says, "Let me show you my D." And then he introduced the Tesla Model S dual motor.
That's right.
Little double entendre. Interesting to see the D back in the mix.
Yeah. Maybe Dojo, because we had Dojo being shut down, but
Which he did clarify was not eliminated.
was not eliminated. Right? Is that D? I think that D3 just is Dojo 3, right? Because the last one thing we had was Dojo 2. Am I correct with that?
They were talking about it. I don't know. Did it ever come to fruition?
I'm not sure. I would have to get a good fact check on
I
that.
believe it was a pause and a restructuring to use the AI6 in the Dojo format. But that's about the end of my knowledge there. In fact, it gets worse. My knowledge goes back to Eminem's fake band, which I think was D3.
Okay. The last silicon chip that made referred to as the Dojo is the D1, and that is exactly what they call it, D1. So
He's not going to bite on my Eminem reference.
so I think it is going to be, but I wonder why they're skipping.
Well, I mean, we don't know. They could have had D2 in the works. And so to just keep things clear, it doesn't have to be disclosed to us. That could have been an internal program, under wraps that didn't get disclosed. And so to keep clarity on their internals, just move past it and go to D3.
Yeah,
That's
for sure.
quite a possibility.
Okay, so I got a rough quote from Elon. Elon says that everybody's quite surprised and thinks that it's going to be a lot longer before space data centers are cheaper than the ones here on Earth. He says within the next 2 to 3 years, it is going to be cheaper to have a data center in space than it will be here on Earth.
Well, that's contingent on the success of Starship, but he's very confident.
Yeah. But the thing it's saying, it's always sunny in space.
Well, there's no doubt that there are more than financial concerns when you call them costs.
Yeah.
We have costs on Earth that are regulatory, that are legal, that have to do with buying property from other people, that have to do with withstanding lawsuits, or just long-term inquiries into a new project. And we're specifically seeing that with, I believe, TSMC that's trying to build, and they've been working on a chip fab location that for something like 6 years that's just been held up. Yeah. And I wish I could get more granular on it, but that's all I recollect there.
Yeah. I want to go real quick, and it's kind of a, jumping into something else. But David, you have gotten to ride in my and Blaine's Hardware 3 a lot today. What from what you've experienced, and then also whenever you were out in Lexington, Kentucky for episode 1, what did you think about the good old Hardware 3 versus Hardware 4, just based on feelings alone? Just current hardware.
I think it's a significant difference.
Mm-hmm.
Night and day. It's hard. A lot of it is hard too because you're talking 6-year-old vehicles versus brand new, completely different generations. It's further than AI3 versus AI4. There's a lot of smoothness in there, but it's night and day. When we went on the Hardware 4 test drives today, you got to experience things like it, going reversing and getting out of dead ends, and just so many things that you're not able to do. Start from park and have Mad Max.
Yeah.
Like even you got shocked when it and when it started accelerating crazy in Mad Max.
Yeah, that was pretty insane. Yeah, cutting through traffic like I would. So what's going on?
And not all 6-year-old vehicles, wouldn't you agree? I mean, there's Model 3 was still hardware 3 for the full year of 2023. So that's pretty recent.
Yeah, it's 3 years ago. Yeah. And Josh, again, you have hardware 3, right?
Yep.
So we were in a Twitter Spaces the other night, and you were live, and you said that your hardware 3 reversed. Let's hear a little bit more about that, because I'm skeptical.
Yeah, it was weird. So it was it was very strange. I actually went back and tried to do that again to the same supercharger spot that was in Berkeley, Arkansas, or Brinkley, Arkansas, and it's one of the pre-mapped superchargers. So in all vehicles, no matter what, your view changes and it shows you where all the spots are and all that sort of thing. Although the difference is when I went back, the sun was glaring down and I kept getting camera occlusion events because I was trying to drive right into the very setting sun, and then the superchargers were right there. I just couldn't see them, and it kept messing up. I tried 3-4 times and I gave up. I had to get going. So when I arrived there, I was actually on an X Space. The car, it pulled up, and previous to that, the hardware 3 cars, that kind of pull up and they kind of do this half turn thing, like they're getting ready to back in.
Yeah, I think that's in my experience and everybody else's.
Yeah, and so this was weird. It just kind of pulled up, and it had like all these new screens. Of course, I didn't know that it was a pre-mapped supercharger. It looked very different to me, but it just basically, from what I recollect, pulled up and just backed right in.
Okay, so
it was just, and I was like freaking out, and I couldn't video it because I was live, but I mean, everybody heard me.
Did you save the dash cam?
I don't think so. I don't think so.
Dang.
Yeah. But I mean, that would only show the car moving.
The self-driving, at the bottom of the screen would be interesting. Yeah.
It would save the whole screen, you mean? Or
no, hardware 4 only, I think.
No, I have it on hardware 3. It's so self-driving, how fast you're going, turn signals, if you're in drive, park, all that stuff.
Yeah,
so.
I don't think I didn't think to save it anyway.
No, yeah, you're fine. Yeah. But so I think that my hypothesis, again, I'm still skeptical until I see it with my own eyes.
Yeah. I thought about it a lot, just driving and hours alone. And I was like, I wonder if it's some sort of integration to auto park in that ultra, they really have mapped the space out, right? So it's ultra mapped. So you are less relying on the software and more like a pre-programmed, hey, what's immediately around the car? We're using the software that exists already on the car, and they're just kind of, sort of patching them together, if you will.
I remember a tweet from Elon is about, timelines are getting so bad for hardware 3. I don't even remember when it was, but I think it was about a year ago. Elon said like 2 weeks until FSD on hardware 3 can reverse, right? And after about 2 weeks, we got an update. It can't reverse, but on the screen, I mean, every hardware 3 owner has seen the good old reverse. It shows that it wants to, just like whenever you're not in FSD and you're going forward and it shows, its future path, it does the same thing when you're reversing, and it looks like it knows what it's doing, just from what I've seen. And what I'm wondering is it just disabled because maybe it's not reliable, and maybe it's again, you have the the updated one that doesn't have the stock. So I'm wondering. With auto shift.
Yeah, so combination of auto shift.
Did FSD press the brake hard enough that it transitioned you into auto shift and automatically bypassed the disable?
Oh, and it auto parked it. Yeah, it's possible.
Yeah, I think that's a good possibility there.
Yeah, and then the fact that it was the pre-map and so on.
Yeah.
But
I think the pre-map has a lot to do with it doing the
100%. Oh, I'm absolutely convinced of that. Yeah,
that's really.
But I would encourage anybody else that's maybe watching this to go to one of these pre-mapped. You can find them. They specifically say on the location, and just try it with your hardware 3 car and see what it does.
Yeah, what's the nearest pre-map? Do you know the nearest
pre-map? I have no idea.
Yeah.
Especially not in Tennessee. I'm not from here, but
it's like less than 1% of them.
Yeah, there's not a whole lot. I wish Tesla had a list.
Yeah.
So if you found one in your locale or in your, during your travels, you could give it a try. But
one of us gotta you throw up some Claude code and make that.
Yeah, go through and scrape it all.
Yeah. It'd be interesting. Everybody like Robotaxi Tracker, one
Yeah,
of those type
exactly.
of things.
Yeah. Pre-map supercharger tracker.
Yeah.
Definitely less interesting.
I'm buying the
to the
domain
right person.
right now. Well, all right. I think this has been a great episode too. I have some wonderful people with me. I'd like to say thank you guys again for coming on the podcast, episode 2. Right, David Moss being here in both episodes. How we do things here. Maybe it's the Koby Pierce and David Moss podcast at this point.
Yeah.
But yeah, thank you guys for joining Thank you guys for joining Our Full Self Future. It's been your host, Koby Pierce. If you guys want to say anything when you sign out.
Yeah, absolutely. Great to be on with you guys. If you're looking for EV content, Josh West 24/7. I'm based out of Austin, Texas. Do a ton of cybercab content. They're all running around in my backyard. So Optimus, any events. And of course, we got Rivian doing a lot of exciting things too with their autonomy and AI program rolling out as well. So yeah, follow along.
Yeah, I'm Landon of the West, and I'm just grateful to be here in Chattanooga, Tennessee, again for the second year in a row, making friends here in the South. They call me Landon of the West, but at least 1 week a year, I'm Landon of the Southeast. And we've got some people to thank there. Josh Hazel and his wife, Amanda. They have
Wonderful people.
Really made this happen
Yeah.
2 years in a row, and it is starting to go exponential.
Oh,
I
yeah.
think. Doubled the
Huge growth.
participation this year.
Yeah.
Great job with them. Great light show, great vendors, great people. And looking forward, we're going to do a similar thing with our great friend in the community, Kelly B. Sloan.
Yep.
She's in the Tesla Owners Club of Michigan. She's the vice president. She reminded me today, she's not the president. She handpicks the president. I'm not supposed to say that, Kelly. I'm sorry. But we're going to see her in Muskegon, Michigan, June 5th.
Yep. Yeah, I should be there. Yep.
Thanks for having me on. You can find me on Wolf Financial on Tuesdays at noon Eastern on X Spaces.
All righty. How about you, David Moss?
Yeah, I think they said it both best. Follow them. These are the real experts here. Quiet for a reason, but I would encourage everybody in the community to come out to these events. We'll all be at the summer one in Muskegon. We'll probably be at X Takeover in the fall. Get out. Don't be afraid to meet people. This has been, wonderful community. I can consider myself very introverted. You go to these, you meet so many friends, so many people. You see so many cool cars. Just everything was so well put together today, just from food truck vendors to, Josh emceeing to all the panel, the guests. It was all completely flawless, and it's going to continue to grow. Well over 400 people today, and sky's the limit.
Yeah, for sure. And remember, Chattanooga Charge 2027. If that's still that's on the plan. Yeah,
100%.
Set your calendars. I don't even know what dates we're
It's
going to
always
do.
March 23rd weekend, and I can tell you why that is.
Yeah, that's right.
Because Josh Hazel, coincidental, right?
Mm-hmm.
Josh Hazel, Josh West, Landon of the West, and Captain Ellie, plus several more. Our birthday is all March 23rd.
Okay. This is new information to me.
Yeah.
So happy early birthday to y'all.
Lots of fun.
Thanks very much.
Yeah, thanks for having us on.
All right. See ya. Hey, everybody. I'd like to thank you for listening to this episode of Our Full Self Future. I'm sorry that this was not uploaded super quickly after the Chattanooga Charge event. I've been editing this for a hot minute. We had a lot of episodes recorded. There's a bunch of exciting ones coming out real soon. The goal is to be every other Thursday, but editing podcasts takes a while. We should be getting an editor soon. So if you would like to sponsor the videos as well and help pay for that editor, reach out. Email is on the website, ourfullselffuture.com. I think we're going to be editing the format just slightly. There will be definitely a lot of episodes, in the self-driving Tesla, but at the current time, just with feasibility, and then also in this episode having 4 people, it's quite difficult to get 4 people inside of my my Model 3 and then get the podcasting setup in and everything. So yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed this episode. Make sure to tune in, every other Thursday. Hope you guys enjoyed, and we'll see you in the next one. Thanks for listening. Bye.